Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing we have on the agenda is a 2024-2025 budget update.
Short and sweet, there's only been one change since we had the last meeting, which was we had undertaken a little project in my office because when we do the annual report to the state, we have to report teacher salaries and they want it broken out by certain grade levels, and our account codes where we track them weren't matching those grade levels. So we were just breaking, the numbers weren't changing, we were just breaking them out to track them the same way they have to be reported to the state. But in doing that, we found one elementary teacher whose salary was not included in the budget. So the numbers that you looked at last time, it would just increase by about $75,000 to incorporate that salary. Other than that, we have no updates on state aid, no new news. Sounds like they've reached, what's the word? Something agreement, the word is escape. Conceptual agreement, I think is the word they use. But no details. We don't know if our numbers will change. They talk about how hold harmless will stay in the budget, but that means nobody's state aid will be reduced. So that doesn't mean we necessarily get full 3%. So my question to you is, it's on the agenda for the board to adopt the budget next Tuesday. Are we leaving it as it is with appropriated fund balance and the 3.5% tax levy, or do we want to adjust that in some way? Or if we get more information between now and Tuesday and aid is increased, how do you want me to adjust things? Do we want to change tax levy? Do we want to change appropriated fund balance? What would you like to see on Tuesday night when you are asked to vote on it?
I would change the tax rate because we're above the cap, so that would be the first thing I would look at rather than fund balance.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Absolutely.
So if save harmless remains, what does that mean for us?
Nothing, because we have, with the governor's runs previously, we had projected an increase in aid, in foundation aid. So all saved harmless means is that a district will not get less than they got last year.
Okay.
So it really doesn't mean anything for us.
Right, and
So-
they haven't been clear. They're going for a 3% increase for everybody, but they have not indicated enough detail to know. So it could be very similar, very close. The inflationary factor, if it isn't as low, if they negotiated that higher, that could bump us some, but we have no idea what the impact will be.
Is it the 157,000 or roughly that we were shown to be shorted on that one table that we think we could get? Is that?
I don't have anyone.
Yeah.
You're referring to like the numbers we saw when we went to Rick Tim's presentation versus what.
Well,
came
even
out
after
from-
that, I think NISBA put out a table about.
Yeah,
Don't know.
your guess is as good as mine, because we have no idea what numbers they'll change and how that would then play out in the runs for us. So we have no idea
So,
what it
I mean, I think if we, as we get information, just recrunch the numbers and
Yeah.
send them out so that we can understand better what the potential implications are.
So is it safe to say that, so we're approximately 80 to 90,000 above the tax cap with our current levy? If that amount or more comes in play, is what the board is saying, that you want to go back down to the cap? And then anything beyond that applied to the fund balance? Reduce the fund balance applied to the budget?
Can I ask two other questions? Where are we with the health insurance?
We are at a 10.3, I think, percent
Okay.
premium increase. We did execute that renewal. There are some modest changes to the copay structure for prescriptions after the deductible is met, and a slight increase in an increase in the employee's potential out-of-pocket between the deductible and the out-of-pocket maximum. So there were some adjustments that allowed us to get down to just slightly over 10%.
Okay. And then where are we with the projected deficit for this year?
No significant change, I would say. It's still
500,000?
Yes.
Okay.
I would think take it to the tax cap, if that's where we can get to.
Right.
If everyone's comfortable with that. I don't wanna go below that, cause I don't wanna set us up for a problem next year, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion.
No, I'd be in agreement with that. It doesn't sound like we're gonna get, I mean, they're not even in agreement with anything of the budget, you know, as far as school really, so,
But
They,
they're
Doesn't
they,
sound
they
like
made,
we're gonna-
made some movement, we just don't know what.
right.
But they're still,
Exactly,
they're still signaling that next year is gonna be a crunch.
right,
So if we, say hypothetically, for some reason they gave us 10% more funding, we reduced everything 10% down, it's just delaying the problem and making it worse for next year.
correct.
So, but with them signaling like that, that's why I kept saying I would take it down to the cap and I wouldn't go under the cap because, they're signaling next year is gonna be an issue, so. I guess we'll just see where it comes out, I guess. Hopefully they increase the foundational aid.
So how much time do you need to re-crunch numbers? Like if something comes out by Friday, does that give you enough time?
I can do that. My plan will be to get Corey the information tomorrow based on the numbers. Like, I'll get everything together tomorrow based on where they're at.
Mhm.
If we get information, I mean, I can do it on Friday, I can do it on Monday, I can, I'll do it as soon as we get the information, but it won't take a terribly long. I mean, if we're just changing a couple of, you're either changing the taxes or you're changing the fund
Yeah.
balance. It won't be terribly hard to change those numbers to adjust it.
And years ago, we were in the same boat quite frequently. And then, we're gonna have it by April 1st, we're gonna have it by April 1st. And they were good for a while, but, so we're back in that same boat where we're approving a budget, but we're not really sure what we're gonna get. That type of thing, so that may come into play again.
The other point with the cap again, taking it just to that cap and not going below that is if for some reason in next year's agreements or settlements or negotiations, they keep save the hold harmless agreement in there. We want to make sure that number is at the cap for this year and not below it, because otherwise that digs us a worse hole next year. And even if they have that safeguard, that'll burn us, so.
Just to play devil's advocate for a minute, if we think that next year is going to be worse and there's going to be a bigger crunch, if you exceed the cap this year by that $80-some thousand, that would mean that next year you'd have, $84,000 additional towards next year's budget. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, that's our budget update. So next we have for new business is to approve the DCMO BOCES administrative budget. Any discussion on that?
I have to say that this is the first time I have seen the BOCES budget come in like this format, and I'm quite impressed.
As far as which part do you see format?
Just what you were sharing with us, how they spread everything or broke everything down that we can easily see, identify where, the increase or decrease is. I just
That may
like,
be on our fault. We receive this presentation every year, but it's not what they typically send us to give you, but I have that. So we can make sure to bring that forward, even that's,
Yeah.
is this what you mean?
no, that right there, yep.
Okay.
So
So
we'll make sure to give,
I mean, a lot
As
of
much
times we'll
as
get
we have.
our, BOCES is going up this amount,
Mhm.
and then we get, just a generalized, but this was nice to see. Breakdown.
I was confused, can I ask, because the one document had administrative and the other has administrative and capital, but we're only voting on the administrative.
yeah, the capital is our portion of capital projects that's already been voted on, approved by voters, that's paid every year.
Okay.
They give it, I think they must have to by regulation give it to us every year, but it's just the communication. Honestly, I think it really helps offset the admin budget a little bit. If you see both of them, like we went down so much in the capital, we went up a little bit, and then total between the two, we're pretty much flat. Some years it's not the case, or capital will assist with the budgetary process. But the admin budget is the only budget that we actually vote on as a component district for the BOCES.
Yeah, I think overall their admin went up 7%, but
Yep.
our portion does not.
Correct. And then the other piece of it is when, after they do the budget, you see the RWADA and then the percentage. So the RWADA rate of weighted average daily attendance, that's calculated, that's a value that comes from the state, and then they take each of the budget that's based on RWADA, and it gets proportioned out. So if your attendance has changed in any given year, your percentage will change, your percentage of the pie will change, so it changes every year. So that's why when you look at it, you'll see the differences between percentage of our WADA and each one year to the other. So for us, you know,
Went down.
right, it can be a factor that way as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I think one thing that jumped out to me with this, because that's basically their enrollment, right, for all the districts associated with our
Our
BOCES.
region.
Yeah, our region. It's like 450 students lost in 1 year. That's pretty incredible.
Yep. And out of
The
those
rates that
450,
everybody's
I would
seeing.
bet money that 50% of them are homeschooled.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
just
So,
pretty amazing
yeah.
across all the school districts.
And the enrollment sheet, and hopefully they'll send it to us. Alan Poole years ago started an enrollment tracking spreadsheet. And when I was there, it was actually one of my jobs was to update that every year to push it out. They haven't done it in a few years, but we think they're doing it again because they've asked for the data. And you can see, just like our enrollment trends, you can see the enrollment trends of the region going all the way back to like 2006 or 26, whatever number of years. And you can see, so when I left there, the 20-year mark was the equivalent of losing Norwich Central School. That's how many kids we had lost region-wide. So that's like 1,800. That's how many we had lost in that time frame. So it's significant, that certainly is. But yet, the BOCES CTE numbers during that same time period were consistent. So the percentage of students, as the enrollment in districts went down, the number of students, say approximately 800, was maybe 770, 830. It did this across the scale, and it stayed very consistent during that time period. You know, that's why it's important for us to, you know, support our BOCES, because kids in our region, you know, that they need it.
Right.
They need it. So I found that very, very interesting when I did that data pull.
Well, and our community needs our students to get
Absolutely.
those trades.
Okay, any further discussion on the administrative budget? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve it.
Make a motion?
Second?
Motion second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Just carried. And next, we have a resolution to cast one vote for each of the following candidates for position of board member of the Delaware Shenango Madison Otsego Board of Ed. Any discussion on those? Vanessa, John, and Cindy. Entertain a motion to cast a vote for each.
I'll make a motion. Second?
Motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.